Hello and welcome to Spark Joy Astrology. My name is Joy and I am so excited to be here with you to break down the aspects for this super blue moon that is happening in Pisces on August 30th at 7:35 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. What is a super blue moon? Well, friends, it is a double whammy of goodness. The super part of this is that it is perigee, or closest to the Earth in its elliptical orbit. And we've had 4 moons, full moons in a row that have been supermoons, and this will be the last supermoon of this year. The other part of that unique specialness of this moon is that it is a blue moon. A blue moon means that we are having a second full moon in this month. There are 13 full moons in a calendar year, so there's always one month that gets an extra one. And here we are, friends. Blue moons are ample for yin energy because the moon represents our emotional nature, that yin side of this matrix. We are definitely seeped in intuitive, sensitive, and dreamy energy. And because it is in Pisces, that mystical sign, there are definitely some dreamy vibes about, friends. Saturn though is conjunct this moon. So it is a mystical check-in with reality and how these two energies blend together. But I am jumping ahead and saying too much because I am going to divulge more about the actual full moon in a little bit, because I first want to set the scene of the 2 days prior to this full moon. Well, I guess actually the full aspects of the 30th and then Tuesday the 29th. We did have Uranus go retrograde on Monday, so that was kind of a little bit of a drum roll to get this whole energy started. What I found really interesting, friends, is that yesterday on Tuesday, August 29th, we had the moon traversing Aquarius. Aquarius is where we had our first full moon in this month on August 1st. It was very much this check-in with the house of Leo, where the sun was, and Leo is where Venus has been retrograde with Black Moon Lilith and Juno. A lot of energy around love revolution. And when our moon was in Aquarius last month, or at the beginning of this month rather, on the 1st, it was like the moon was receiving all of that love revolution energy and amplifying it into the collective. Hello, Aquarius. So, interestingly enough, the day before this full moon, this super blue moon, the moon is checking in with Aquarius and makes a check-in to Venus, the very first check-in at 4:56 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, where Venus has just come into the 12th degree, where she is now going to station direct at. So she has come to the end of her retrograde. She's at the degree in which she will hold still and go direct. And that happens on Sunday, September 3rd. So we're almost there. But interestingly enough, the moon checks in with her at this potent degree of 12, which, if you remember the Sabian symbol, friends, I'm going to read it to you. It is an old sea captain rocking himself on the porch of his cottage. Really, this brings in peacefulness, contemplation, reflection, deep assimilation of our experience. So now that we've had Venus go all the way up to 28 degrees and then retrograde back to this 12th degree, it is a time to really think about all that we've experienced and learned in this self-love revolution that Uranus has been such a player in, making these squares to Venus. And Uranus just went retrograde on Monday. So this big, powerful wave of energy when it comes to love, when it comes to how we love ourselves and those in our lives. And I'm just going to take you on a journey of this beautiful weaving of Mars and Venus, the divine masculine and feminine, weaving together through all of this blue moon, super moon energy. So that's where we start, friends, is with Venus, this check-in around how we've really stepped into this new version of ourselves when it comes to love. And then yesterday at 9:11 a.m., the moon squared Jupiter in Taurus, where Jupiter is also stationed at his degree of 15 of Taurus, ready to go retrograde on September 4th. So he's basically doing a do-si-do with Venus. As she goes direct, Jupiter's going retrograde. And Jupiter is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So these two have been working in cahoots to really ground in through the element of Earth, where Taurus is, it represents, and Jupiter, this expansion and growth and adventure quality to it. So here we go. Jupiter is at 15 degrees, where he will go retrograde on the 4th. And what this Sabian symbol, 15 to 16 of Taurus is an old man, or rather an old teacher, fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge. And to me, this really signifies that the old ways are inadequate, right? We need to up level our game when it comes to matching current reality with what we're studying. And we've been on this big embarkation of changing ourselves when it comes to love and our values. So here we go with this old knowledge doesn't hold true and strong anymore, and we're bored of it. So, you know, this is where Jupiter is going retrograde. So we'll come back to this after the retrograde is over, to this degree of 15, and that will be the end of the post-shadow phase. So another aspect with the moon at 3:15 p.m. comes to Chiron, who is also retrograde at 19 degrees, still holding at the degree that he went retrograde on the day after Venus went retrograde back in July on the 23rd. So how interesting that the moon is checking in with all of these planets that have been at these degrees as potent parts of their retrograde cycle. So fascinating. So this 19th degree of Aries, where Chiron, the wounded healer, is this Sabian symbol. A young girl feeding birds in winter, which I know this one well. This is where my sun natally is placed. So I have dove deep into the meaning of this, but it really is that there is no higher form of compassion, really, right? And especially offering that compassion, that form of love in a harsh season like winter, and how incredibly valuable that is to stand in that state of giving, of service, and of compassion. So there's that one. We're healing, friends. We're working to get deep into our emotional nature and look at shadows with this, and really individualize and power up, with Aries being where this lovely friend is, and also where the North Node is. So Chiron and the North Node working that house of Aries together. All right, next aspect, 9:04 p.m. on August 29th, the day before the full moon. Again, we are checking in with a planet who's been stationed at a potent degree in the retrograde cycle. And that is Uranus, who went retrograde yesterday, friends. So the moon at 9:04 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time comes into a square with Uranus. And this particular Sabian symbol for 23 to 24 degrees of Taurus is an Indian warrior riding fiercely, human scalps hanging from his belt. So I interpret this as extreme individualization and establishing self from tribe, and the fierce need to channel aggression and ego, and but individualization. Again, we come back to this idea that we are really revolutionizing ourselves and becoming this empowered, more sovereign, more independent, and balanced person. Okay, so now that leads us into the actual day of the full moon, where, let me remind you, friends, we do still have Pluto squaring the South and North Node, making this lovely T-square in the sky, tension around transformation at a very deep psyche level. So getting into the subconscious, the cellar of our personality, and really working to clean it out. That is going down until September 3rd. It finally gets out of that engagement range, which is the day that Venus goes direct. So we are certainly doing some serious work this week with this full moon, friends. No wonder it is a super blue moon. Okay, so diving into this, just want to remind you that this August month was packed full with a Venus cazimi when Venus came into that beautiful spot with the sun where she was illuminated. So we had some illumination around relationship topics, love, money, things that we value, creativity. We've had 2 full moons now, and we've had 2 flavor changes with the sun moving into Virgo and Mars moving out of Virgo and into Libra. So here we go at the very end of this potent month. On this last day, we have our moon at 25 degrees of Aquarius sextiling our north node in Aries and making a trine to the south node in Libra. So this is an emotional encouragement aspect that asks us to move towards our purpose, right? North node and south node represent our fate, our purpose, our path. And with these positive aspects, making connection to our moon, we're really stimulated towards moving towards that. And, you know, Aries and Libra is this emotional relationship axis. It's about individualization versus relationship. So this is where our morning starts us off, is focusing on this aspect of relationship, or access rather. So we feel this from 12 to 5:30 a.m., midnight to 5:30, but it's exact between 1:37 and 3:54 a.m. because those north and south nodes are oscillating. It does take a moment for any planet to fully connect with them. So our next aspect, friends, is at 1:56 a.m. when the moon moves to 26 degrees of Aquarius and opposes Black Moon Lilith in Leo at 26 degrees. Now, Black Moon Lilith and Venus have been together really close all the way through the cycle of Venus in Leo, working on our heart and what lights us up. And just recently did Black Moon Lilith and Venus kind of split up as she went back retrograding. Black Moon Lilith has been holding it down at the end of Leo at 26 degrees, waiting for Venus to catch up, because Venus went back to find Juno, the relationship, loyal, who you want to commit to, means business partners as well as intimate partnerships. Venus went back to go get Juno, and now they're going to come back holding hands to Black Moon Lilith. It's going to be a potent ending to this retrograde cycle. And so here, before this full moon happens, the moon checks into Black Moon Lilith. So this is energy around our deep instincts, our animalistic nature. And so with the moon opposing it, we are looking at what's challenging us and bringing this animalistic self up. So it can be challenging yet very powerful, this aspect. It can bring up heart pain, heartbreak, temptations, very much represents sexual energy. But our desires, our needs, and also very much around sex. This is coming up around this moon. So it really makes me, perk my little Venus loving, relationship loving heart up. Like, okay, I feel that we are very much working with the Venus cycle in Leo through this full moon culmination. So working to find a balance between our emotions and our instincts, and see what comes up in our life early in the morning. We actually will be sleeping. So what comes up in our dreams, right? This is in engagement range from 12:30 p.m. to, or a.m. rather, to 3:30 a.m. So we will be sleeping when this comes in. So pay attention to your dreams, friends. There might be some deep things in your psyche that come out that help you empower yourself into this empowering moon. All right, now we get into the juicy part, friends. At 7:56 a.m., Mountain Daylight Time, August 30th, the moon moves into Pisces. This is where the moon will be when it becomes completely opposite from the sun in Virgo. That's a little bit later. Let's first talk about what does it mean when the moon moves into Pisces. Well, Pisces is that mystical sign that encapsulates all of the 12 signs before it. So it is the 12th sign of the zodiac, and it really means that it can understand all of the energies prior to it. So it's very psychic, it's very connected. It is the waters of creation, if you will, the psychic waters. It is a water sign, so it means emotional connection, sensitivity, intuitive connection, and it is also feminine, so there's this creative aspect to it. It is a mutable sign, meaning that it is adaptable. I like to think of Pisces as the chameleon because it does take on all those 12 or 11 signs prior and has that mutable quality. So the wonderful part about this psychic nature is that it's connected to everything. It's very empathetic. But the challenging part is that there are blurry boundaries with Pisces. So what is interesting about this particular full moon, blue moon, supermoon, is that Saturn is right next to this moon in Pisces, and Saturn represents reality. So I feel that we are going to have some merging of reality and more of the ethereal world coming together. I personally, friends, have been nerding out about the Skinwalker Ranch shows on Netflix. I knew about this ranch, and it's about it's a very interesting space where there are supposed portals that open up and beings come through, and it's based on Native Americans kind of warring against each other and cursing another tribe, and then all these interesting situations have been happening on this ranch for decades in Utah, and it's very much this blending of reality and the non-physical realms, and they're studying it with science. They're getting all these different scientists out there, and it's just very perfect for Saturn being in Pisces, getting that really authoritative, getting all the people with their titles around, scientists around, to explore this non-physical realm of Piscean type things. So it's a perfect ode, if you will, to this. I definitely went on a binge this weekend, and it was so perfect as I've been thinking about the energy today. I'm like, oh yes, there we go, here we go. But we are definitely working to strengthen boundaries also, and that can be around things that we've never really seen clearly before, right? Like at the Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, at 1:32 p.m., the moon conjuncts Saturn at 3 degrees. So, moon's checking in. Hey, Saturn, we're gonna start a new reality. Let's do it. We're in this realm of spiritual possibilities, the yin, the womb of infinite possibilities. And now let's use this Saturnian energy to work it out. Let's lock it in. Let's figure out, what's happening here at this Skinwalker Ranch. It's a good example, friends. But here, Saturn enters Pisces. He entered actually in March, I think it was late March, and will be here all the way until February of 2026. So this is always a long transit with Saturn, and he's at the very beginning. He's retrograding back to 0 degrees. He retrograded at the 7th degree of Pisces. And so whenever Saturn is involved, we get challenges, friends. Saturn likes to teach us through tests and see how well we do. So a challenge we must rise to, and Saturn likes to slow things down. I personally have Saturn in my 7th house, which is the house of close, intimate partnerships. And I feel that in my own relationship currently, and it brings tension, and I shouldn't even say this, but just challenge into wherever it's at. You will be tested, friends. And so the collective is being asked most definitely to learn and to become more mature around Saturn themes. And so Saturn themes in Pisces are these ethereal realms. What is consciousness? There's a blurring of the lines when it comes to reality and non-reality. Saturn is this heavy energy, where Pisces is this more mystical, ethereal energy. So they are kind of this opposite energy. So there can be this disorientation when it comes to these energies blending. I like to think of grunge rock from the 90s, because that is the time that I really feel and remember Saturn in Pisces, you know, all of that lovely, Green Day and all of that music that just really encapsulates kind of that sulkiness, that emotional quality that's almost depressive but goes deep, right? So that's the energy that we're dealing with. It can be reality checks, friends, heaviness with this Saturn. And but yeah, where are we deluding ourselves? That's what my note says there, because Pisces can be this ethereal realm and Saturn is this reality check. We can really see if there are things that we need to let go of with this particular moon. Okay, we come to the full moon at 7:35 p.m. The really full engagement range is from 6 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. But this is when the moon becomes exactly opposite from the sun, and the rays of the sun can fully illuminate the moon. And what this does is it illuminates the axis in which these two planets are in. So we have the sun, who's in Virgo, and the moon, who is in Pisces. This particular axis, what this represents, is a spiritual axis. Virgo is the everyday routines, the service-oriented part, the heart of ourselves, where Pisces is that more ethereal, intuitive, emotional quality of spirituality, but that oneness, right? Samadhi, all 11 signs in one. This is the full spiritual energy. And so as we work with this particular full moon, friends, as the moon is currently right next to Saturn, we have to look at this interesting cycle of Venus. Venus is going direct in 4 days after this full moon. And Pluto is ending its engagement with squaring the nodes. So wow, that in itself is huge. Currently, Venus is 5 degrees away from Juno, so she's about to go a little bit closer to grab her and bring her up through the house of Leo. Black Moon Lilith is at the very end of Leo, waiting for them to get there. We have Mars, who just entered Libra. This is a house that is ruled by Venus. So Mars has left the house of Virgo, where now the sun is, and has moved into the Peace Bearer. This is the house of harmony and relationships and love. Libra does not house Mars well, because Mars wants to fight for something. But what he can fight for here, what he does do well, is fight for love, fight for relationships, and fight for Venus, who is now going direct, right? It's so beautiful. Also co-present in Taurus, or rather in Taurus, I should say, we have another Venus ruled sign. So you have Libra and Taurus. So we have to check in with both of these. And in Taurus, we have Jupiter. Jupiter, who I just talked about at 15 degrees, is going retrograde 5 days after this full moon. And he is going to ask us to go inward with a big, expansive spiritual awakening. Yes, friends. But co-present with Jupiter in the sign of Taurus is Uranus, who just went retrograde 2 days from this full moon, but yesterday from when I'm shooting this video. But there is serious change about with that particular retrograde motion of Uranus going inward. We are seriously working with this revolution around ourselves. It no longer is only encapsulating Venus and all the themes related with her, such as love, money, values, and creativity. It really has to do with just the whole makeover of who we are, friends. It's a big one. And Saturn is there helping us, giving us that energy, that taskmaster, you can do it, you can achieve this goal energy. So quite beautiful with the Saturn presence there. He is in that 4-degree orb. So Saturn is at 3 degrees and 33 minutes of Pisces, and the moon, when she is illuminated by the sun, is at 7 degrees and 25 minutes of Pisces. In the sign of Pisces, friends, you also have Neptune. Neptune is home in Pisces. So this spiritual awakening energy, this compassion, this love is flowing with this moon, being that, the full moon is co-present with the rulership of Neptune, blessing it. Yes, Venus, she's a part of this also because Jupiter also rules Pisces. So Jupiter's hanging out in the house of Venus, right? In Taurus. We just talked about that. So there's all these intermixing of supportive energies towards this expansion of self. Whew, it's potent, friends. All right, let's see. What are my notes telling me? Okay, oh yes, this is also a beautiful thing in the fact that the sun in Virgo, right, illuminating that moon, is also housing Mercury, which he is home in Virgo. So you have the sun in Virgo with Mercury home, and you have the moon in Pisces with Neptune home. So this is very supported, strong, spiritual awakening energy, friends. I am just very much in love with this super blue full moon, and I hope that you can take some time to sit and look at the moon, because Saturn is right next to it. It's right next to it, and it is closest to the Earth that you will see the moon, even though you can't quite tell from the naked eye, but you can see Saturn with the naked eye. So get out there and be a part of this really potent, special energy. Okay, the last part I want to touch on with this particular full moon is Mars. Remember, Mars moved out of Virgo and into Libra, where our Venus is ruling this house, and Mars is fighting for Venus. But Mars is making a quincunx to Saturn. Mars is at 2 degrees and Saturn's at 3 degrees. So they are making a 150-degree angle called a quincunx or an inconjunct. There is some challenge with this particular aspect. It is subtle, but it calls for an adjustment. So within the divine masculine, within Mars, now that he is fighting for Venus, where is their tension? And where is the universe asking us to make adjustments when it comes to this Martian energy of passion, drive, desire, go, push, ego-y energy. So looking at imbalances, because it's an inconjunct quincunx, that are limiting you in your potentials, right? In that ability to go and achieve. A way that you can really use this energy well is to ignite your passions, things that do light you up and give you that inspiration. Yes, we got that beautiful energy, though, of the masculine and the feminine, Venus and Mars, working to revolutionize us from the inside out so that we can find this inner balance with this potent energy and really work with this revolution that is happening with all these planets that are retrograde right now, friends. All right, so with Mars moving into out of Virgo, out of that wellness house where was working on this plan of wellness, of everyday routines, and just working out with Black Moon, or with Pallas Athena rather, who he was conjunct with in that house, this union between the strong feminine and the strong masculine, and standing side by side. So his movement out of Virgo and into Libra is really asking us to find this holistic approach. It is the yin and the yang, right? That we have a little bit of that, a little bit of the black and the white, and it balances out. But this moon is very much one that is asking for harmony. We got the opposite of Saturn and the moon right next to each other. But through so much beauty of balancing of Mars and Venus housing all these planets that are part of this inner retrograde, or inner revolution rather, with all these retrogrades, it's really beautiful, friends. So with that being said, if you can take some time to go look at Saturn and the moon, maybe envision that yin yang sign, and bring in a whole new level of balance into your life with this potent lunation. All right, friends, I love you so much, and I'm wishing you so much joy and so much happiness. Mwah.